Hello everyone, welcome back to another part of the walkthrough for the game Othercide. So we are at the first boss. Now, the first boss is not easy, but he's also not difficult. So we have a couple of characters that we can pick, and we have a few choices of the character that we're going to bring. So the question is who we're going to bring. That is a good question. And I'm going to bring one Soul Slinger with damage and one Shield Bearer and two Shield Bearers, I think. Okay, I'm just thinking about which Shield Bearer I should bring. I'm gonna use armor reduction. And for this Shield Bearer, we don't have enough Vitae. Alright, let's confront the boss, because there's nothing we can do.
That binds the child to suffering.
Okay, so we're at the Field of Scissors. So this is the first boss. Now the position is important of which daughter you pick. So we are going to pick Rebecca, our first, and Jill, our middle daughter, and then we're gonna pick another another Shield Bearer. I'm inclined to go with Cindy, but I might just go with Helena, because she's slightly higher level. But there's no huge difference between which one you're going to pick. So I'm probably just going to go for Cindy because she has a little bit less experience. So we are against the surgeon in a confined, like a confined map. Okay, so let's confront the surgeon. Now the first boss is not that difficult, but he's also not that easy. It's easy to mess up, and if you're not careful, you can lose this. But he's not as difficult as the second boss. The second boss is much more dangerous. And I'm always very nervous against the second boss. Where the other bosses are difficult, but I have a set strategy that most of the time it works.
A monument to terror. They destroyed a child and called it mercy.
Also, you notice all the events are over. Once you encounter the boss, you can't have any events. Okay. So these are caretakers. Cool. Caretakers. And the surgeon. Alright. So caretakers are not particularly dangerous. They don't do a lot of damage. They have 280 base damage, but they are able to use devotion, which grants the boss 500 armors and 15 resistance to delay for 50 initiative units. Target allies act 10 initiative units sooner. Okay, so you can see, oh, I forgot one thing is you can see enemies stat as well here, critical damage and delay resistance. So that's the resistance to delay. So that's something I forgot to show you guys. Revere means cultists focus on the surgeon unless an enemy is in range. So unless your daughter is in range, they will always move towards the surgeon. So just something to remember. So the surgeon stat, he has 30% resistance to delay and 0% chance of critical damage. Now, the surgeon has a very large movement range. Look at it. But what's more powerful is he has skills. A giant scissors, deal up to 305 damage to daughters in the area and push them back by 2 tiles. Enemies push into each other or objects takes additional 150 damage. So this damages in a zone. Okay, so giant scissors, if he's attacking a daughter here, the daughter here and here will take hit. So it's a 3 tile damage in a zone. So be careful placing your daughters next to each other. Summon caretaker. So if there are less than 2 caretakers, if there are less than 3 caretakers on the map, he will summon another caretaker. So they should always be 3. Palliative care, change phase when the last caretaker dies. Resets initiative to 0. Now all bosses have phases, so this is only the beginning phase. So you see he has 0%, 0 armor, 0% dodge, but 30 resistance to initiative delay. And these guys have 27 armor and 0% chance to dodge. So the boss does a big attack just with giant scissors. He can summon caretakers. That's all he can really do in this phase. So we don't need to worry. But you might be wondering, 7,000 health, it's not that much. Yeah, it's not that much, but you will see later. Okay, so remember, the caretaker has revere, so they will always go towards the surgeon. Okay, so that's very important. First thing, we're gonna take down this caretaker. Yeah, it's okay. We will not worry too much about going to burst. I should have probably moved my soul slinger up, but it's okay. Notice how the caretakers always move towards the surgeon. Now you can see that they will buff the surgeon 500 armor, so it's impossible to take down the surgeon while the caretaker is around. 500 armor means they're able to resist 1,000 plus damage. So even a backstab with a blade master isn't gonna do enough damage. So it is possible to beat the caretaker or damage him if you only have 1 caretaker around, but he will continue to summon caretakers, so you really need to defeat the caretakers before you can try to engage the boss. Now he has 1,500 armor. It's just not possible. Even a backstab with the biggest attack, you're not going to be able to cut through 1,500 armor. Even it's hard to cut through 500 armor, because a backstab with an imbued blade can do about let's say 16 to 1700 damage if you have 20% extra damage, and if you have another 40% extra damage, you can do probably 1,000 damage to him at most. But then he will summon another caretaker, and once he summons another caretaker, he's gonna get another 500 armor buff. So it's very, very difficult to beat him on the first phase. So you just really need to you need to just defeat all the caretakers. It's not impossible. If you can hit him from the back with the delayed attack from a blade master, it is possible to damage him, but he has to have 500 armor or less. If he has 1,000 armor, it's very difficult to damage him. It's still not impossible, because you can have auras around your daughter to further boost the backstab damage of blade master, but the aura that you get is not its traits. So daughters will get different traits that can boost up their damage, but this trait is not guaranteed. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't get it. So you really need to defeat all the caretakers before you engage the surgeon. So I'll show you guys how to do this, okay? Armor buff. Remember, the caretakers always move close to the surgeon. He's gonna go for attack, but it's not going to hurt, because the blacksmith is grace, so that gives us super armor. you can see what I'm doing here. I'm delaying the chance the caretakers can act, and that's important because you don't want the caretakers to act too soon. Because if the caretakers start acting, they will push the boss up the timeline. And if they push the boss up the timeline, the boss will act faster and faster. So that's good for us. So I want armor buff. I want to push these guys further down the timeline so they can't act as much, or they can't act sooner. Okay, so I'm just thinking. So I'm just continue to use armor buff. Yeah, I can probably take down this. Yeah, I can.
Shred them down.
Okay.
How foolish my fears.
They have he has 60% resistance to initiative delay. I'm just thinking about my thought process. So Cindy will be able to take this person out. And then okay, so I'm just thinking whether I should be using shadow rounds. It's a difficult decision. Alright, I'm just gonna use it. Yeah, I'm just gonna use it. Okay.
How foolish my fears.
Okay, you can hear the music is loud, so something's happening. This person has 45% resistance to initiative delay, and now he has new attacks. Relentless Therapy, which deals up to 180 damage 3 times to a daughter in melee range. self-medication, increase resistance to delay by 30 for 150, and delay up to 300 damage to any deal up to 300 damage to any daughter that attacks him in melee attack. So this is very dangerous self-medication. If you have a Blade Master, you're trying to attack him, he will counter-attack you. Group Therapy deals up to 370 damage 3 times to all daughter within radius of 2 square around him after 45 initiative units of delay. So an AoE attack, you have to be very careful of him. The question is, if I delay him here, of 13 initiative units, Cindy can delay him 4 times. 4 times 13 is 68. No, I can't do this. I have to just stay here. I can't go into burst mode because it's too risky. Okay, he's setting up his AoE attack. So, I didn't really need to use Shadow Rounds. Okay, he has 60 resistance to initiative delay. So, you might be wondering what, who he actually attacks. He attacks a unit that has the most amount of HP. So the surgeon would attack the daughter with the most amount of HP in his range. Obviously, if you have a daughter outside of his range, he's obviously not going to attack. But look how big his movement range is after he changes phase. Now you will notice the bosses will have insane movement range. So obviously, if you have a daughter parked around this corner, sorry, not this corner, all the way back here, he's not going to be able to attack you, right? Before we continue, let's have a look at this map quickly. Look at all the scissors, the giant scissors as well. And a crazy looking eyeball here. This is what I mean. The game has a very dark, daunting atmosphere, right? And the music is like very urgent and very serious at the same time. And how the music becomes louder when he changes phases makes the game very cool. I really enjoy this game, and especially I really enjoy the atmosphere. It's very dark and gritty. It almost reminds you of Bloodborne, and how there's light coming from this area where he's sort of spawning. And so many giant scissors. It's very crazy. Anyway, let's get back to it. So we are going to attack him. We already had Shadow Rounds. I don't really want to go into Burst. So I'm just gonna end Jill's turn. So I'm going to attack him with Cindy. But before I attack, I'm going to use Blacksmith's Grace. And you might be wondering why. Because this guy has an attack called, have a buff called Self-Medication, which means he will counter-attack 300 damage. Now, this counter-attack must come from a melee attack. So even if I use a range attack at melee range, so if I use a range attack right next to him with Jill, he's not going to counter-attack with self-medication. He will only counter-attack if you're using a melee attack. So it is possible to beat him using all range characters if you want to do that. So he will only counter if using melee attacks. And just look at the way his head is shaking. Look how insanely crazy his head is shaking. It's so disturbing. And crazy at the same time. Okay, so we are going to use Slam, but notice we have 264 armor, and he's going to counter attack us every time we use Slam. See, he's going to counter attack us. But every time he counter attacks, he actually pushes us further up the timeline. So he's actually pushing us up the timeline. See? So every time we counter attack, he's pushing up us up the timeline. So this means it's counterproductive for him to attack us. We're gonna end our turn here. We are going to then using Slam. We are not going to use Blacksmith's Grace because we already have 269 armor. Because we didn't use Blacksmith's Grace, we don't get the 15 initiative unit buff, but we can push him further down the timeline. And notice his AoE attack is being delayed as well. So we should be able to finish this fight. So we can keep pushing him down the timeline with Slam. So that's why Slam is a really, really good skill. And in the same time, Shadow Rounds is doing insane amount of damage. Again, we have 264 armor. We are not going to worry about this. So his counter attack is not doing any damage whatsoever. And not only are we pushing him back, we're also pushing his area of effect attack back. Okay? So now we can go for a back hit. And GG. Alright, we did it. We beat the first boss. Yay. Alright, GG.
Memories of another life. Guard them well.
Alright. So we got level 5s. I especially want Jill to get the kill because Jill is close to level 3, but now we can get her to level 5. So whoever defeats a boss gets the most amount of XP.
Who are you to question? The plague will kill us all. Each cut brings us closer to the cure.
They spoke lies, little one.
Too little to fight. They cut me because I could not die.
We will fight for you. Release this memory to me.
We shall find a cure for this plague, whatever the cost may be, child or no, it remains an experiment. The surgeon. The cellar prison. Send me more lovelies to punish. I will absolve them of their sins.
We must venture into darkness to shed light on an innocent soul.
So we have two possible missions, a hunt mission and a penance mission, which is impossible. I don't know if I want to do this penance mission, so let's go to the codex to have a quick look. And we won't be looking at the remembrance until the very end. So Codex, we have the Bright Soul. The Bright Soul is a very fragile being. You need to escort it to save it. They captured them, stolen them from us before they were born. Save them, dear friend. Do not let the suffering other corrupt those we germinate. I couldn't bear it. The Mother. The Caretaker. I'll give you guys a few seconds to read it. Alright, I will look at the surgeon. I'll read it out for you guys. The surgeon is protected by a group of caretakers. As long as the caretakers are on the battlefield, he will try to attack the closest daughter and, if necessary, replace a missing caretaker each turn. Caretakers are lost in their reverie, following the surgeon closely and granting him armor and resistance bonuses. If a daughter gets too close, they will attack the closest one. Kill the last caretaker and the surgeon will become more aggressive, targeting the daughter with the most life and unlocking several new skills. Human madness knows no limit as long as it has a cause to feed on. The surgeon was convinced of the righteousness of his own action and would have been able to use logic to justify any of the deadly drugs he injected into the helpless child. Blinded by his thirst for success, his science still could not save him from disgrace. Now corrupted to his subservientive marrow, the surgeon is nothing more than an empty shell of harmful conviction steeped in hatred. The Mother. See how there's scissors right next to his picture, and here how he has a witch doctor mask. Okay, so you can see how we got more memories, and the picture of the picture on the right hand side is becoming more clear. I think as soon as you get more memories, the picture will become more clear. Events. So these are the different events. So we will go through the chapter towards the very end because for obvious reasons. You can't read the story half full. Yeah, so basically, like, you can't have you can't just read chapters of story that are broken. Same thing as the events. We will probably go through that later. So at the beginning of each week, I'll go through the beginning and middle of each week, I'll go through the codex as well. So we have lots of new skills to learn. We will look at this next time. So we have defeated the surgeon. I will make a cut here. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.